Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to Divine Allegiance. I'm your host, Maulana Baig.
Thank you for joining us. Today's topic, exposing criminals. Crime happens all the time. People do criminal activities and many times we see that they get away with it. The right criminals are not found and many times innocent people are arrested and serve time for things that they have not done. Many times you read in the news that how someone who has been arrested of a crime and is serving time has been found innocent. But what happens? Most of his life he has spent in jail for a crime he did not commit. So how do we expose crime and how do we expose criminals? What does the Quran have to say about this and what are some of the guidance that Islam has given in relationship to this? This is going to be our discussion today. When it comes to crimes, there are 4 types of criminal allegations. When you see a crime, there are 2 sides to a crime. There's the victim and there's the perpetrator. Now, there are 4 types of crimes that take place. The first type of crime is an individual versus an individual. When one person does wrong to another person. And in this situation, these 2 people are the sides and there are 2 individuals. They will bring their witnesses and so it happens. Then a second type is when one group is against another group and they allege and accuse another group of doing wrong. For example, Wahhabis versus Shias. When you look at that, Wahhabi is a group, Shia is a group, and you see that Wahhabis accuse Shias of shirk or whatever they think is a crime, and they accuse them of that. So these are 2 groups against each other. Then there is an individual versus a group. When one individual alleges or accuses a group of doing wrong, and for example, when you look at that, a crime like that would be like Imam Hussein versus the people of Kufa. They invited Imam Hussein and they betrayed him. So it's him versus the people of Kufa. Or for example, Bibi Fatima versus the other perpetrators of wrong that have wronged her, and hence she made a claim against these people who have wronged her and refused to meet them and refused to deal with them and showed her anger towards them. So it's one individual versus a community or a group of people. And the 4th type of crime is a group of people versus an individual. When the people see that one person has done so much wrong that everyone gathers together against that person. That's why whenever you see a case happening against a perpetrator of crime or a criminal or a suspect who is suspected of doing a crime that has hurt many people, you see that it's people versus that person in the court. These are 4 types of crimes that take place. Now, when it comes to this, there are 4 types of crimes in the sense of what has happened. There's one crime that is against the life of a person. The second crime is against the property of a person. The third crime is against the faith of a person. And the 4th crime is against the reputation of a person. 4 crimes that can happen. And all criminals are divided into these 4 categories. What type of crime have you done? These are the 4 types of crime. The first one is against life. For example, when someone takes your life, or they assault you, or battery, anything like that. This is going to fall under crime against the life of a person. And hence, that person will be called a murderer or an assailer. So anyone who has done a crime against the life of a person, either taking it or hurting that person. Second is property. This crime and anyone who does that crime is called a thief. Someone who steals or robs and thieves the property of another person. This is the second type of crime. The third type of crime is religion and faith. For example, when someone takes the faith of people away by misguiding them, this happens through ulama. Ulama who are fake or wrong people, who get on the members and they misguide the people, or they give the wrong message to the people by which the people's faith is hurt. These are also criminals. And the last type of crime is a crime against reputation or a dignity of a person, the honor of a person. For example, if someone does ghibat, backbiting, or slander, or saying something wrong, or spreading rumors, all of these are also a crime because you are taking away the reputation of a person, which Allah regards as very important. The honor of a Muslim is very important, and to take away the reputation and to hurt the reputation of another Muslim is a crime, and it will be dealt with. So now, these are the 4 types of crimes that we have in Islam. And by Islam, we mean that Islam recognizes these 4 types of crime, and all other crimes will fall under one of these categories loosely, and there it will be looked into. Now we want to understand about criminal and the criminals and what they do, and how can we expose these criminals, people who do wrong. And you see the types of things. Now we need to see how they go about doing these things, because everyone who does crime doesn't do it in the open where everyone sees it. Such a person, obviously, everyone will know he's a criminal. There's nothing to hide there. That's why, for example, a person like Yazid was such an open criminal of disobeying Allah and insulting Islam that everyone knew that this person is wrong. So when Imam Hussein stood up against him and spoke out against him, people were not saying that Yazid is a good person. It was, everyone understood that Imam Hussein's stand, and everyone should stand up against such a person. It just happened that the standards of the Muslims had fallen so low that they couldn't understand that a bad person should not be the leader of the Muslims. It is an insult to Islam and Muslims to have a corrupted person to be their leader, and for Muslims to accept such a thing. And Imam Hussein had to stand up and let the people know that it is an insult to our faith that such a person be our leader. So when we see a person who does any crime or wrongdoing or murder, whether it's robbing and stealing, whether it's slander, you'll see that they do it on the sly. They hide their crime. They don't want others to know about their crime. This is how a person who's doing wrong works. When he does it, then after that, he doesn't want others to know that he's a criminal. So how do they get away and, you can say, hide their tracks and hide their crime? Well, there are 4 ways that I just brought up, and there are others also. 4 ways that I'm going to talk about today as to how a criminal would hide the wrong that he has done. First thing, number 1 thing that a criminal does is to create confusion. Create confusion. When you create confusion, mayhem, chaos, then in that chaos, you see the footprints and the wrongs that have been, the clues that are there are not found. It's very easy. If you did a crime, just put many fingerprints there and smudge the evidence as much as you can so that no one would know how to investigate that. This is the first way. They create confusion on the crime scene and things that are happening around. I will give these examples from the Quran and see how the Quran asked us to deal with this and how to deal with such sort of criminal activities and how to expose it. Second thing that they do is they fabricate lies. They fabricate lies, untruths, or half-truths, and put that out there so that the people would not be able to find out, and they would go after the lies without being able to reach the actual truth. So this is one of the ways that a criminal hides his tracks. The third way is that they try to hide their guilt. They are guilty and they will do whatever they can to hide their guilt. So they go around, they make sure that nothing is going to get out, and they try very hard, more than others, to hide their guilt because they're involved in a crime. And you will see that in a person. And the fourth thing that protects a criminal, strangely, is reputation. Yes, for a criminal, there's nothing better to save him and to protect him than having a good reputation, being respected by the people. That's why criminals want to do things that are respectable and gain the respect and have a good reputation amongst people. Why? Because this helps them to protect themselves. If someone accuses them of wrong, people are going to support him and they are going to defend him. Why? Because he has a good reputation. That's why a lot of times you see that in the masjid, a lot of people who are criminals and who do swindling and stealing, they would come and be a part of the masjid in a very strong way in the community. And then what happens? That's when they prey on the weak and those who are simple-minded, and they steal from them. This has happened in many communities in America. And we see that these people pray. Why? Because first they build a good reputation amongst themselves, amongst the people, then they go forward and do that. So 4 ways that a person hides his tracks. We'll go through these 4 things. 1, create confusion. 2, fabricate lies. 3, hide their guilt. And 4, build a reputation. 4 things that help a criminal hide himself and the crime be hidden from people. How do we expose that now? This is where we see Allah has advised us and has given us guidance so that we can look at these things and are able to expose crime and look at things in the correct way where crime can be exposed and criminals can be exposed. So when it comes to commotion and confusion, Allah gives the example in the Quran of Prophet Yusuf and Zulaykha. Zulaykha was the mistress, meaning the master, because Yusuf was a slave. His master and the mistress, meaning his wife, was Zulaykha, who used to own Yusuf. Yusuf was her slave. So Yusuf was a very handsome person, very handsome young man, and Zulaykha had an inclination towards him and made bad intentions, evil intentions. And she saw that they were alone one time and she made the arrangements for them to be alone. She locked the door and she came after Yusuf. Allah speaks about this in Surah Yusuf. Yusuf said, I seek refuge in Allah from such a crime and such a sin. And she came after him. He ran away from her. And as they were running, and in that moment of that crime taking place, her husband walks in. Her husband walks in, and right away he sees that there's something wrong happening here. Now just imagine he just walks into a crime scene. You see something wrong happening here, and what does she do? Right away, she creates confusion by saying, what do you do for a man who's trying to do wrong to your wife? In other words, she accuses him of wrongdoing. Now, here's the husband. He looks at the scene. He doesn't know what to do. She created confusion here by saying that. Now, there, Allah speaks. He says, وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ, a witness, مِنْ أَهْلِهَا, from their house. It was a bird, a witness, says, and gave a witness. He says, in kana, in the whole crime, gave witness in front of everyone, in kana kamisuhu qudda min qubulin. If his shirt is torn from the front, fasadaqat. So she is saying the truth, and Yusuf is a liar. And if his shirt is torn from the back, then she's saying the truth, meaning she is lying and Yusuf is right. In other words, the first thing to do in confusion is go back to the beginning point, the starting point. Take yourself back to the starting point, and from there see what happened. They took it back to the starting point, which is that who tore whose shirt. If Yusuf was attacking, then she would tear it from the front. If Yusuf is running, then she would tear it from the back, and Yusuf's shirt was torn from the back, and that's how it was known that this woman was the perpetrator of the crime. And there Allah He says that innahu min kaydikunna, it is from your plots. And Allah says inna kaydakunna azimun, the plots of women is a great plot, meaning they plot great. I mean, shaitan's plot is weak, shaitan's plans are weak, but women's plots are strong and great. Allah even praises their plots for being very great and beguiling. So in this regard, we see that the case of confusion, you go back to the beginning, unravel it by going back to the beginning and seeing what is the starting point of this crime. And from there, you are able to see who the criminal is. So this points out the one way of exposing a crime. Second type of crime, or what they do, is lie, make up stories and tales so that the crime is now clouded and people look here and there. And you see this, one of the way that they do it is by saying lies. And when a person lies, one of the things that he does is that he wants the other person to believe it. He wants the other person to believe what he's saying. That's why, for example, a lot of people say wallahi before everything they say. Why are you saying wallahi all the time? I believe you. You don't have to say wallah and swear by Allah at everything that you say. Why are you saying that? Is it not true? Are you trying to hide something? Why are you saying wallah? This is why it is wrong to say wallah, and it is a sign of a weak character and akhlaq to say wallah or swear by Allah all the time. Only when cases that are important, that really matter, you bring Allah in the middle. Otherwise, it shouldn't be brought in the middle in every sentence that you say or in everything that you say. So in the same story of Yusuf, when the brothers of Yusuf took Yusuf out and did what they did with him, you see, they come back and they tell their father a lie. They make up the lie and they tell the father a lie. Now, when they say the lie, what does it say? وَمَا أَنْتَ بِمُؤْمِنٍ لَنَا وَلَوْ كُنَّا صَادِقِينَ. Allah mentions their statement in the Quran so that you recognize liars. Liars, when they come back or they are trying to defend themselves from a crime, what do they say? We know that you don't believe what you're saying. We know that you don't believe me. But it's the truth. You said what happened, then why are you adding this sentence to say that I know that you don't believe me? Why wouldn't I believe you? You are my son. You are a believer. Why shouldn't I believe you? Why are you even saying this? Allah mentioned this statement so that you know that such people are liars who want and who try hard to make you believe what they are saying. Because when a person is truthful, he doesn't need to try hard because he's saying the truth. When he says the truth, this is the truth. This is what I am. I don't need to prove it. I don't need to try hard and tell you that, why aren't you accepting what I say? Why do you want me to accept what you say so hard? Is there something that you're trying to hide? And this is the reason when a person who investigates the crime, this is how he looks into it. Are you really trying that hard to hide these things from me? Whenever you try hard, it's always a problem. When you try hard to do something. The third way, trying hard to hide their crime, meaning that they're guilty and you will see that they hide their crime. Not just lies now, but they try to hide their crime by doing things. They do things to hide their tracks, create false tracks, do something else, create a diversion. This is the third thing, creating diversions. Now, we see in the same place, right? Allah mentions them. وَجَاءُوا آبَاءَهُمْ, and they came to their father Isha'an, at nightfall, when it was night. Why did they come at night? Because at night it's dark and it's hard to see your expression. When you're talking, it's dark, so it's hard to see your expression, whether you're lying or you're saying it, how you're saying it, because a lot of things are known through expression. So Allah mentions that clearly, that they came at night. It was their plan that after they did the crime, let's go at night so our father doesn't recognize that we're lying. So they came at night. Number one, yabkuna, and they were crying. You see, they were crying to hide their crime. It's interesting. Allah mentions this, that their crying was to hide the crime. Yaqub also cried, which I will mention in a few minutes, about his crime, because that's a method of exposing also. But these kids were crying, and Allah uses that to say that they were hiding their crime by creating this diversion that, oh, we feel bad about it and we are crying, so you don't doubt us. You don't be suspicious of us. And then what happens? They brought a shirt with fake blood. They brought the shirt of Yusuf with fake blood. I mean, Yaqub is a prophet of Allah. He is an intelligent person. He would know that this blood is fake. It's not real, or it's human blood. Allah says that, bidamin kadhib, a fake blood or false blood. And it's not human blood. And hence they looked at, he knows that. But you see, they're trying. They're trying to create diversions. One of the ways of exposing criminals is to see who is creating diversions, who is trying to make different stories up. If someone is making different stories about what they have done or what has happened, then it means that they are trying to hide something. This is another way of exposing a crime. Now, my friends, we come to reputation, the fourth way that a person hides crime. And this is something that's hard, because reputation is very hard to get around. If someone is reputed in the community, in any people, it's very difficult to blame them for something wrong, because they are known as muttaqi, they are known as muqaddas, very holy people. They do the right thing, they give charity, they give all the things, and they make themselves look good. So if they do something wrong, or if they have committed a crime, now to say that this person has committed a crime is difficult, especially when people respect you. How do we deal with that? What do we do in cases of that? This is really important for us to understand this. You see, Allah explains this here. One of the ways of exposing criminals like that, where they hide under the disguise of reputation, respect, honor, high rank, high position, or respect of people. How do you do that? Well, Allah speaks about this in the same, as I mentioned, in the example of Yaqub. When Yusuf was taken away and he separated from Yaqub, Yaqub knew that the crime was done by his sons. Allah says that he informed Yaqub as to what happened. Yaqub knew he was done, but he saw that his children are not going to admit, and they are not admitting to the crime. These are his own kids. They're not admitting to the crime, and that's why he was so sad that his own sons have done this wrong, and they refuse to accept their wrong, and their crime, and they go on about it. So what happened is that Yaqub, missing Yusuf, begins to mourn him, to cry for him. And he goes on crying. He goes on crying. Now, at first, the kids were like, okay, he misses Yusuf and this and that. But the crying did not stop. It went on for years. The crying went on for many years. And it became such that every time he cried and his cries were heard, it was hurting the children. They were getting upset. They came and they swore by Allah to Yaqub. He says, they swore by Allah to Yaqub that قَالُوا تَاللَّهِ إِنَّكَ لَفِي ضَلَالِكَ الْقَدِيمِ. They said, by Allah, we swear by Allah, you are in error. This is dalalat. Dalalat means error, wrong. You are doing wrong, injustice. Meaning they are accusing their father, who is a prophet, of being in error. Why? They're saying they are dal. Dal means they are gone astray. He says, you have gone astray. This is the ways of the old people, jahiliyat. You're acting like jahiliyat. Ignorance. They're telling their father that. Why? Because he's crying for his son. I mean, really, Yaqub is saying, it's my son. I lost my son. Why shouldn't I cry for him? Why shouldn't I cry for him? I mean, really, look at the logic of Yaqub. He's right. If, for example, someone loses someone who they loved, and if they cry for it, why am I so upset? Why am I so upset? I shouldn't be upset at this. I shouldn't be upset, at this. So what happens is that my being upset is showing something here. And Allah is giving this example. Show this. Yaqub cried. They accused Yaqub of crying by saying that he is acting like the ignorant people and he has gone astray. A prophet of Allah has gone astray for crying, and Yaqub keeps on crying. My friends, they were not against the fact that Yaqub was missing his son. That wasn't the issue. The issue was that they had committed a crime. And as long as that crime is remembered through the crying of Yaqub, that crime is going to stay fresh, and they are afraid that they will get exposed. One of the ways of exposing criminals is to keep the crime alive. And one of the ways of keeping the crime alive is by mourning it and crying for it. As long as that crying is kept on, then the criminals are going to expose themselves by opposing it. So from here we understand who opposes crying and who cries. People who have lost someone, they cry. People who have committed wrong and they see others crying and keeping that crime alive, they are the ones opposing that crime. This is why when Fatima cried after the demise of her father, she cried. Why were the people against her crying? That's her father. She lost her father. Why are they against her crying? Because they knew that they have committed a crime by turning their back on Rasulullah. They were afraid. They knew it pricked their conscience that they were wrong. My friends, Fatima cried in order that their conscience can be pricked and they understand they have done a crime, that they can be exposed. And by them opposing her crying showed that they are criminals. This is the same reason, one of the wisdoms why we do azadari. Azadari is the way that we expose the crimes of the criminals. We are crying because we lost someone who is dear to us and that we love. And if someone is opposing us and says it's wrong and that we shouldn't do it, what's your problem? Why are you upset at us crying? We are crying. We're not saying anything to you. By you opposing Azadari, by you opposing the mourning of Imam Hussein, shows that there's something inside of you that is telling you that this crime that has been done, that is being kept alive by our crying and our mourning and our matam, is hitting you in a place which is exposing you as a criminal. My friends, how do we expose criminals? Allah gives this lessons to us in the Quran. That's why our practices, some of these practices, when we understand that, we know what they're meant for. May Allah bless you all. Thank you for listening in.
Thank you for watching Divine Allegiance. We hope you like the show. If you like the show, please go on and hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel and share with your family and friends to spread the message. I'm your host, Maulana Baig. Until next time, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.